Let me ask you something real quick. Think about last month. Not last year, not 5 years ago, just last month. How much money did you actually spend versus how much you planned to spend? Because here's what I've noticed talking to people about money. And I mean actually talking, not just reading surveys. Almost everyone is leaking cash in ways they genuinely don't see. Not because they're dumb, not because they don't care, but because the system is specifically designed to make the leaks invisible. You open your phone, you tap a couple buttons, food shows up at your door, you get a notification about a new iPhone. You grab a coffee on your way to work. None of these feel like financial decisions. They feel like Tuesday. But those Tuesdays are quietly adding up to somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 a year going out the door with almost nothing to show for it. And here's the thing that actually gets me. Wages grew 3.8% in 2024. Consumer spending grew 5.1%. That gap doesn't sound massive until you realize it means every single year, the average American household falls slightly further behind without changing a single habit. The average household spent $78,233 last year. That's up over $3,800 from the year before. But earnings didn't keep up. So where's that extra money coming from? Savings, credit cards, the feeling that something is off, but you can't quite name it. Today, we're naming it. My name is Tate, and I break down personal finance in a way that actually makes sense for real people, with real lives and real bills. If you're tired of feeling like your money disappears before you even understand where it went, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button, because this video might genuinely shift how you think about your spending for the rest of the year. We're going through 12 things that are no longer worth your money in 2026. Some of these you'll nod along to. Others might actually surprise you. All of them are pulling money out of your account while delivering less value than they used to. Let's get into it. Here's what most people don't realize about the economy right now. It's not just inflation. Inflation is the part everyone talks about. The price of eggs, gas, rent. But underneath that, something more structural has shifted. Corporate pricing strategies have evolved. Subscription models have multiplied. Convenience fees have stacked on top of convenience fees. The economy you understood 5 years ago doesn't operate by the same rules anymore. The reality is that some purchases, which felt completely normal in 2020, now border on financial self-sabotage. Not because you're making bad decisions, but because the value equation on those purchases has flipped. What used to make sense mathematically doesn't anymore. And most people haven't updated their habits to match. Think about this. The average American can't cover a $1,000 emergency expense right now. That's according to Bankrate, and it's not a new stat. It's been true for years, but those same people are taking multi-$1,000 vacations on credit cards, financing $48,000 cars, and spending $2,000 a year on coffee. These aren't accusations. They're patterns, and patterns can be changed once you actually see them. The consequences of not seeing them are real. Someone who spends an extra $15 per order on delivery apps twice a week is spending $1,560 a year on convenience. That same $1,560 invested at 8% annual returns over 20 years becomes nearly $7,800 per year of the habit. We're not talking about pocket change anymore. We're talking about retirement accounts, down payments, financial security, all quietly being redirected toward corporate profit margins because nobody ran the numbers. So let's run the numbers together right now. Food delivery apps, DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub. Let's start here because this one hits different when you actually see the math laid out. Restaurants pay these platforms commission fees of 15% to 30% on every order. They don't eat that cost. They pass it directly to you through inflated menu prices. Studies have found that prices on delivery apps run approximately 25% higher than the same items at the restaurant. That's before the delivery fee, before the service fee, before the small order fee if you didn't spend enough, before the tip, before the surge charge during busy hours. A meal that costs $12 at the restaurant can easily hit $22 through the app. That's an 83% markup for someone else to drive 10 minutes. And since 2023 alone, delivery app prices have increased another 8% to 12% on top of that. The gap keeps growing. The occasional order when you're exhausted on a Wednesday, fine. That's what the service is actually for. But the weekly habit, the 2 or 3 times a week, every week, that's $1,560 extra per year minimum and probably more. That money, compounding over 2 decades, is nearly $8,000 per year of the habit. The delivery apps know exactly what they're doing. The interfaces are engineered to minimize friction. The subscription services like DashPass create the illusion of savings while locking you into consistent spending. This one's a slow drain that feels like nothing and adds up to everything. But here's where it gets interesting, and this applies to a few things on this list. The problem isn't the product. The problem is frequency. Occasional use of almost anything is fine. It's the habitual, unconscious use that dismantles your finances quietly. New cars. The average new car price in 2026 is sitting around $48,000. The moment you drive it off the lot, it loses roughly 20% of its value. That's $9,600 gone before you reach the first stoplight. By the end of year one, you've lost 25% to 30%. Your $48,000 car is now worth $33,000 to $36,000. You've lost more than a year's rent for most Americans in depreciation alone before you've even made a dent in the loan. The average monthly car payment hit $738 late in 2025, according to Edmunds. That's $8,856 annually before insurance, maintenance, or gas. And if you financed most of the purchase, you're almost certainly in negative equity almost immediately, meaning you owe more than the car is worth and you can't even sell it without bringing cash to the deal. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I need a reliable car. Absolutely. Nobody's arguing against cars. The argument is against new cars specifically. A 5-year-old reliable vehicle has already absorbed the steepest depreciation. Modern cars run 150,000 to 200,000 miles with basic maintenance. Buy a solid used car, drive it a few years, sell it before major repairs hit. The depreciation during your ownership window is minimal. You might sell it for close to what you paid. Research on millionaire behavior is consistent on this. The typical millionaire drives a Toyota, Honda, or Ford. The median amount they pay for a vehicle is $31,367. They understand something most people don't. Transportation is a utility, not a status signal. Streaming services. This one has a special place in my heart because the pitch was so good and the reality is so different. Cut cable, pay $8 a month, unlimited content. That was the deal. That deal is dead. Netflix is now $15.49 a month. Disney Plus, $13.99. Hulu, $17.99. HBO Max, $15.99. Amazon, $8.99. Apple TV, $9.99. Peacock, $7.99. Paramount Plus, $11.99. Subscribe to all of them, and you're paying over $100 a month. $1,200 a year. More than many people paid for cable, which, by the way, is the exact thing streaming was supposed to replace. According to Deloitte's 2025 Digital Media Trends Report, the average American household subscribes to 4.5 streaming services. That's $60 to $75 monthly. The platforms deliberately fragment content to force multiple subscriptions. The show you want moves to a service you don't have. Sports require another add-on. They're rebuilding the cable bundle piece by piece, just charging you separately for each piece. The fix is simple but requires discipline. Subscribe to one service. Watch everything you want. Cancel. Move to the next one. Rotate sequentially instead of maintaining all simultaneously. This costs $12 to $18 a month instead of $75. Same content, different timing. The only thing you lose is the ability to watch everything at once, which honestly, when did that become a necessity? Here's the part that might actually blow your mind when you stack these up. Food delivery habit, $1,560 extra per year. New car depreciation versus used, roughly $4,000 to $6,000 per year. Streaming over subscription, about $700 per year. We're already past $7,000 and we've covered 3 things. Keep going. Fast food used to be the cheap option. A Big Mac meal now costs $12 to $15 in most markets. Chipotle bowls are approaching $15. Even Taco Bell is charging $10 to $12 for a basic meal. Fast food prices have increased 55% since 2019. The value proposition was never nutrition. It was always cheap and fast. Remove cheap and you're left with just fast. For $15, you can make something at home with actual ingredients in 20 minutes. The math on fast food has completely collapsed. Latest generation tech. The new iPhone costs $1,200. It takes marginally better photos than the phone you already own, runs the same apps, same texts, same emails, same Instagram scroll. The marginal improvement between smartphone generations has dropped to near zero for anyone who isn't a professional photographer or videographer. Yet millions of people pay $1,200 every 2 years for upgrades that are genuinely imperceptible in daily life. A refurbished iPhone 14 costs about half what a new iPhone 16 costs. It does everything a phone needs to do. The performance difference is undetectable in normal use. Someone buying new flagship phones every 2 years is spending approximately $600 annually on depreciation alone. Over a career, that compounds into tens of thousands of dollars for photos that are 3% sharper than last year's model. Subscription boxes. A $32 billion industry built on a simple psychological trick. People love surprises. The dopamine of opening a mystery package is real. The math is not in your favor. A typical subscription box costs $25 to $50 monthly. The products inside retail for less than that. That's the margin. You're paying premium prices for random items someone else selected, many of which you didn't actually want. Cancellation is deliberately difficult because inertia is their business model. People forget. Boxes pile up unopened. Charges keep hitting the card. And premium coffee. A daily Starbucks habit at $6 per drink costs $2,190 per year. Coffee at home with quality beans costs $182 per year. The difference is $2,000 annually. That $2,000 invested at 8% returns over 30 years becomes approximately $245,000, $250,000, for coffee made at home instead of standing in a line. I'm not saying never go to Starbucks. I'm saying most people have never consciously decided that the ambiance is worth $245,000 over their working life. The habit formed before the calculation ever happened. So here's what this actually means when you pull back and look at it all together. And the 12 categories in this video share the same DNA. They exploit convenience, they exploit status, they exploit psychology, the dopamine of a new package, the social signal of a luxury brand, the ease of tapping a button instead of cooking. They've all risen in price while declining in value, and every single one of them depends on you not running the numbers. Here's the case study that makes this real. 2 people, same income, same city, same job. Person A has the delivery app habit, our new car payment, all the streaming services, daily coffee shop run, buys the new iPhone every 2 years. Person B cooks most nights, drives a used car they paid cash for, rotates one streaming subscription at a time, makes coffee at home, and keeps their phone until it dies. Same income. Over 10 years, person B has invested roughly $15,000 to $20,000 more per year than person A. At 8% returns, that's a gap of over $200,000 in a decade. Not from a higher salary, not from a side hustle, just from seeing the leaks. This is where everything changes. It's not about deprivation. It's not about never eating out or never buying anything nice. It's about whether your spending is conscious or unconscious, whether you've decided something is worth it, or whether it just happens while you're not paying attention. So, what do you actually do with this? A few specific moves. Start by auditing 1 month of spending. Not in your head, actually look at the statements. Categorize everything. Most people are genuinely shocked by what they find. Delivery apps, subscriptions, and coffee alone often account for $300 to $500 monthly that nobody mentally accounted for. Cancel every streaming subscription you currently have. Pick one. Watch it for a month. Then rotate. This one move saves most households $50 to $60 monthly, with zero actual loss of content. The next time you're about to finance something, a phone, an appliance, anything through buy now, pay later, ask one question. Would I buy this if I had to pay the full amount right now? If the answer is no, the answer is no. Financing doesn't make something affordable. It makes it feel affordable. When your current car eventually needs replacing, give yourself a ceiling of $15,000 to $20,000 for a reliable used vehicle with low miles. Research what that looks like in your market. The reliable 5-year-old car exists everywhere. It just doesn't have a marketing budget. And on branded products, Consumer Reports has tested this extensively. Generic ibuprofen is chemically identical to Advil at half the price. Store brand laundry detergent performs identically to Tide in most categories. Switching to store brands across your household could save $1,500 to $2,500 per year for products that perform the same. Here's the honest truth about 2026. The economy is designed to extract money from you automatically. Algorithms optimize for purchases. Interfaces minimize friction. Financing removes the barrier of not having the cash. Your defense against all of it is the same thing: awareness, knowing what things cost, knowing what they're worth, and knowing the gap between those two numbers. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to cut everything. Just cut the things you never consciously chose in the first place. That's where the money is. And once you find it, it doesn't go back to the corporations. It goes to work for you. If this video made you think differently about even 2 or 3 things on this list, that's potentially thousands of dollars a year back in your pocket. Share it with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe if you want more of this, and I'll see you in the next one.